Hello, guys, and welcome back. And today I have a special guest with me, Sonia. Now, one of the great things about her is like when I approached her and I said this is something which I'm aiming for, like she did not actually back out and she was actually interested. So I can see that she is not only achieving something in her life, but she's also interested in sharing her knowledge. So, what I'm expecting from you guys is obviously listen to whatever conversation we are having. And obviously, if you have any questions, because she is at the position where you are actually aiming right now, so make sure if you have some questions, put them in the comment section below. I'll make sure that they are answered either by her or by me, but let's make it a clear motto of it. Now, if I talk about Sonia, she has actually ample amount of experience. She's been into teaching, then product management internship, data analyst internship. She was also in the channel sales internship. So that is a wide range of experience as a student. So instead of me explaining what she has done, I would invite Sonia. Why don't you tell us what you have done?
Yeah. Thank you, Avinash, for having me, for inviting me. This is such a great opportunity. And To put it simply, I was a commerce student, and my most favorite subjects were economics and accounts, right? So I was into those two fields, and in fact my undergraduation was also in like I started off with accountancy, and then I realized that there was something missing, and I was not truly passionate about the subject. So I did my UG back in National University of Singapore. So I got an opportunity to go abroad, and really thankful that my parents were supportive enough for that. So my first year was full about accountancy, and then I realized that okay, this is not something I want to be doing in the future. And this decision was mainly taken because of the kind of courses I was introduced to. So there was a course called quantitative reasoning, which I really I felt that I was good at it, and at the same time it was something which which if applied could make a lot of difference. So that subject it mainly revolved around statistics. So yeah, so I got into that, and I chose a lot of subjects and syllabus around stats. And obviously, when you enter into statistics, there is only one way where you can apply it, and that is data science. So
Okay.
yes, so that's how my journey started. I struggled my way through getting into Python courses inside my university, because all of them were reserved for computer science students, right? So coming from a BBA background, I had to like really fight with the professors to get a seat. And then I did a lot of courses, and my friends were really supportive. I had a really nice group of computer science students surrounded with me, and they helped me and they introduced me to the subject very well, more than my professors did. So that's how my journey started, and I was absolutely unaware of coding, all these terminologies about tech in itself. So my journey really started, I would say, about 2 to 3 years back, not more than that. Yes.
So that is quite amazing. Like when I first saw your profile, I thought you are a hardcore computer science student, and now I realize that you are actually starting your career as BBA. Then you went to BCom. So I want to understand one thing, Sonia. Like obviously, like when we talk, like again, I'm not going to like say like BCom is not good or maybe this is not good. I want to understand one thing: what actually pulled you out of that BCom? Because obviously, when you opted for BCom, you had some aim. You must have thought that you want to become an economist or maybe something like that. So what pulled you out of it and pulled you in towards the Python language, if I talk about, or maybe the machine learning uh, area, if I talk about?
So there are mainly two reasons. First is the community around you, and
Okay.
the place, the college that I was in, right? It was mainly bustling with people who were interested in tech, and
Okay.
wherever you used to go, there would be like exhibitions and these talks around technology and startups, and this entire community of people who were working to create really cool products for the society. And that's how I was introduced to technology. I think the way you're introduced to something really matters a lot. So back in school, my introduction to CS was absolutely just HTML and nothing more than that, right? And then when I came here, I understood so many other aspects to it, especially machine learning. And then I realized the kind of interest, what machine learning really needs is just a very good fundamental understanding of statistics, right? And you need to know about a little bit of math and stats, and then it's all about then translating that knowledge into something that a computer can understand. So basically you
Okay.
just need to know the syntax and the coding for that. So the first factor was the community, and the second factor was as and when you explore a lot of options in your college journey. This is my biggest recommendation for anyone who's hearing this. So never restrict yourself to the courses that has been provided in your syllabus, right? Always try to explore as many courses you can. And now that we have YouTube and all these other channels where you can pick up free content from, go and explore. And as and when you do that, you would automatically realize that these are your areas of interests. And for me, that was quantitative reasoning, and that's how I got introduced to it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Sonia, my question again to this particular question is like the answer is obviously like you found the immense like community, and I also feel like if you have the environment, obviously you actually your growth skyrockets. I want to understand, like obviously this video is going to be watched by people who are from tier 2, tier 3 cities, where the culture is more like that you want to go into the banking or you want to go into the government job. And obviously if I talk about in terms of the sector where girls belong, it is usually that you should either get married or you should go for towards these government jobs, or I should say stable jobs. Now, how I, as an individual belonging to a very small town, can actually find these kind of networks, be it online, be it offline. Like I don't feel offline is possible. So what kind of things I can do to actually find these kind of environment around me so that I can also grow myself?
Got it. Got it. Okay. So first thing is, you have to be so obviously if you have a mobile phone, I think that's the biggest resource for you to understand what's happening around you. So first, um, uh, get yourself into LinkedIn and YouTube, and
Okay.
as well as Twitter, and follow as many people as who you wish to be in the future. Okay.
Okay.
So try to find these people and connect with them, and then again, now the second question is, okay, let's say I found those people and I found good channels on YouTube. Now, okay, the question is, now if you're interested in machine learning in this particular area, finding books and finding offline resources is great. Obviously you would have to spend money on that, but YouTube is something which is open source, it's free. So personally, I would suggest, there are really cool channels like Data Talks Club, which I personally, there are no YouTube ads. It's done totally for the community, and you could just go there. There are a bunch of playlists available, right? Just hop onto one, and there's Zoom camps and there's machine learning playlists. Just go on there, 121 videos. Just spend every day. Just give 2 hours to those valuable videos, and just watch yourself progress.
Okay.
For me, it has been like that, every day spending little amount of time learning something new that I've never, done before. And
Okay.
once you start on that journey, you would see that you're actually growing. And it's not just about gaining theoretical knowledge. Okay, once you know that you have some amount of background about all these machine learning tools, now it's all about implementing them and showing it to others that you've done something, you've applied it in certain scenarios. So for people who are looking to do that, I think again, you would have to find people. So the main way you can grow yourself is finding people who have similar interests. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So you need to find that, and you need to be sure that who around you is has done something like this before, and just go and approach them and figure out if there are projects that you can contribute to. And there are obviously I would definitely ping you some good YouTube channels so that you can share
Okay.
with the community, and some good books and resources. And also when it comes to tier 2 tier 3 students, right, I would say that there is a application called Meetup.
Okay.
Not sure if you have heard about it. So
Yeah, yeah.
Meetup is this bringing community together kind of group. So you can just go there and select the kind of communities you want to be a part of. So personally, I've opted for all the technology groups. Okay,
Okay.
so it's available in anywhere there's a tech event going on, I get a message, a notification that Sonia, would you want to join? Right. So that way, I'm always a part of the community, part of whatever is happening in the market, and that's a great way to get to know people of the same background.
And these events are totally virtual, or they are like in person events?
Sometimes it's virtual. So because of the pandemic,
Okay.
yeah, the virtual thing has really picked off. So if most of them would have an option of recordings and virtual
Okay.
events, yeah. But the good thing about Meetup is it's meant for every city in India. So for
Okay.
Chennai, so if you're from Chennai, then you have Chennai groups around you, and you know these other groups. So if you're from any tier 2, tier 3 cities, you would have you would be able to see those suggestions and recommendations. Yeah.
So, in summary, you're trying to say that I should be using social media as a platform, not to share what is happening with my life, but to follow people. And obviously, this is something which I would also recommend, because obviously, when like basically what happens, one thing I've seen the developer community or the community around machine learning is that they are sharing what they are doing. It's not something that they are keeping secret. So what happens, you interact with people, and obviously, like I've seen students finding opportunities, students finding internship jobs, whatnot. Secondly, obviously, like as she mentioned, like you have to go to the YouTube channel, because obviously there also you learn what is happening in the industry, and if you implement. And the most important part is if you start sharing that knowledge with the people around you. So obviously the major like I should say the attention you get is from the recruiters, because they understand, okay, this is a potential candidate we can actually hire. So obviously, Sonia, that this is something actually makes sense. But now I have a question from the perspective of a person who is not from a IT background, or probably he or she opted for computer science, but they had no interest. But now realizing that the pandemic has happened, the way industry worked around, there are so many opportunities in remote. I am interested in this particular thing called machine learning. Now I have zero knowledge, and I feel you can actually answer it quite well, because you belong to a non-IT background. So let us know, like, what are these steps we should be following along, so that I can actually, I will not say that I want to become an expert, but at least I have the equal amount of opportunities, so I can actually explore myself and I can do something great.
Okay. Um, okay. So let me just share what I did, right?
Okay, sure. Yeah, what this is what we are looking at.
I don't know if I can give you like the 5 steps to become a machine learning engineer. I don't know if I can really do that, and if it would really help also. But I can share my journey, and if it makes sense, then you can follow it too. So first is um, machine learning has become such a buzzword, and it has become like a, you know, if I don't know about this, I'm missing out on something, right? I am not even a tech person if I don't know this. So to be honest, machine learning is, in the most simple terms, it's nothing but a pattern matching algorithm. What it
Okay.
does is figure out correlations within your data, and then it tries to predict something. So when you get down to the basics of it, you know that it's just a bunch of mathematical formulas, and it's trying to iterate over through those algorithms to figure out the perfect uh, coefficients. So I'm saying all these jargons, but when you read about it, you would understand that how this big buzzword called machine learning is actually implemented is very, very simple the way it is done. And so when you realize that it's just about a statistical formula, and then the question comes, is like, do we really need to know the math and the stats behind it? Because
Okay.
we are in this era where everything is wrapped up in libraries found in GitHub, and all you just have to do is clone them and use them in your projects. First, so we are so lucky to be in this particular era where it's just all very low code, I would say. You just have to figure out which library works the best for your use case, get it, use it, and see if, and based on the predictions, you just have to iterate back and see how you can improve it. Right, so the first step that I took personally in my journey was to start off with the fundamentals of Python, how Python really works, because Python is the only way you could convert your logics into something that the machine could understand for data science projects mainly. So there are a lot of libraries available in Python, which are very helpful for machine learning. So that's why uh, I chose Python as the language. So first, get a good hold of Python and Excel. Okay.
Okay.
So Excel is as as naive as it sounds, but Excel is the tool that really changes the way you look at analytics, and it's very simple, very accessible. Everyone has it. Okay, so just hop onto it and figure out how you can like. Like there are so many courses on Excel itself, and how it can be used to analyze data. So once you are comfortable with that, okay, so machine learning in itself can be broken down into, I think the first part is understanding the data, right? So you do all your explorations on it, you figure out, you know, what feature stands out, and what are the correlations in the data, and you first only focus on the data, and then comes the part where you plug in your models and you train it. Okay, and then comes a part where you are testing your model on new data, right? So this is the pipeline. So first you got to know Python very well, and some libraries to point out is pandas. Must learn to figure out how you can play around with the data, how you can make some really good visualizations around it, and see so prepare your data for the training. And so first, okay, so what, summarizing it, till now, to understand the data you've got to know Python really well.
Python.
Pandas, Matplotlib for making visualizations, and
Graphs.
graphs, right? So once you're done with that, so that's called exploratory data analysis, EDA.
Okay.
And
Okay.
once that is done, you move on to the training part. Now, for the training part, there are number of algorithms available outside: linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, random forest. Okay,
Okay.
and these are all like very, very old algorithms. So,
Okay.
but this is the easiest way to learn machine learning. Nowadays, it's all become very fancy. There are a lot of algorithms available online, like boosting algorithms, gradient boosting, and all these things. So I would say start off very small, start off with linear regression and logistic regression. These two algorithms will give you a complete fundamental understanding of what, in a sense, is happening behind the scenes. So it's
Okay.
nothing fitting a line, fitting a function within all the data points. And
Okay.
machine learning is nothing but figuring out the function, the non-linear or linear function, and that function then becomes the one which can be used to predict
The
on your
outcome.
new data, right? So it's all about that. It's all about basic calculus understanding. So,
Okay.
So for training part, go on YouTube. There's a playlist that I just mentioned, Data Talks ML.
We'll actually put the link in the
Yeah,
description.
we'll put the link in the description. There's 121 videos.
Okay.
Amazing way to start off with your machine learning journey. So hop on there, finish up your training part, and then comes the testing, which then becomes a part of, I would say, that it doesn't end there. The machine learning project, it doesn't end there. In schools, we just thought that, open a Jupyter notebook, load
Okay.
your data, do your training, and save your model. But it doesn't end there, right? Once you start working, it has to be production ready. Your model will be used by hundreds of people, right? How do you make your model, how do you deploy your model, how do you make it accessible to so many people, how do you convert your model into an API? So these
Yeah.
are that come into machine learning operations, ML ops, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there are multiple ways you can break everything down and learn them step by step.
So when I asked this question, it felt that okay, there are going to be simple steps, but you have mentioned so many things. So now maybe the students are quite overwhelmed. So I want to understand, like obviously they will be overwhelmed because they have heard about these terms for the very first time. Now I want to understand one thing. Usually, what happens, like this is something I don't know, like this is happening here, or like this is something which is happening. Everybody wants everything in a quick succession. So like you have spent around 2.5 years to actually reach to where you are right now. So I want to understand, like there is any secret sauce, any secret pill with which I can actually eat, and I that 3 months I'm an expert, or I have to spend this amount of time, then only I'll be able to become an expert, or I should say I'll gain good knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, we are in data science is a field where you can never be an expert. You can never call yourself an expert because every single day there are new algorithms coming up. Every single day you feel like you're dumb, you don't know things. You cannot frame opinions on all the technologies, especially in data science. So, like recently, I was learning about what Microsoft has been doing with their models, the cognitive services models, and so Microsoft, Facebook, and all these companies, they invest so much of their R&D into developing these new models, right?
Okay.
And so so in this field, if you have to stay up to date, you have to take about 3 to 4 hours every day to learn something new.
Okay.
Okay, so that is a perspective that everyone should form. Okay, many people stay outdated and they become outdated in the technology industry because they don't put that much investment in learning new things. They do
Okay.
not involve themselves in these conferences, these meetups, and they don't meet new people who are doing new things in the market, right? So that's when you lose touch, and then your opinions wouldn't be counted, right? So I so the question was, if I'm not wrong, how much time do you have to invest, right, to get a good amount of knowledge? So it all starts with finding a structured course. So as much I say that, do it yourself and figure out how do you want to start off, you cannot. If you cannot develop that kind of discipline and motivation to go through all of it, so you need to find a structured course, even if it means paying a little bit for it, because sometimes I feel when you pay and invest in something, you're kind of serious about making
Yeah.
you know getting as much as you can from the course. So figure out if it's worth the time and investment. Pay for some structured course that you can find, a good course online, and then try it step by step, because that would give you a more thorough knowledge, and at the end of it you would feel that, okay, it's not clunky and messy in my head. There's a way, there's a
Structure.
yes, it needs structure. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, consistent amount of efforts every single day, and that's how I think the knowledge you would have, and you cannot say that you're an expert if you know logistic regression or linear regression anymore. That's nothing. So. One more thing that I would want to suggest is, if you're starting out with your machine learning journey, and if you have the resources, please start off with ML in the cloud. Okay.
Okay.
this is going to be the future, and no one's going to spin up their own servers or own data centers anymore in the future. They would expect
Okay.
you to know how to make models in the cloud, how to deploy them in the cloud. Okay, and there are a lot of resources available. I'm going to ping you that as well. So just hop on, take those courses and see how you flourish. You people who are entering the industry now, and I'm so scared to say that because I'm pretty sure that these people are going to overtake us, right? Because we just know how to do it on Jupyter notebooks and all these things. But people who are coming now, they can actually learn how to deploy models and run models on the cloud, and that is what is relevant in the future. Yeah.
Okay. Now, my follow question is like, obviously, you mentioned ML on cloud. Now, these are two terms. When I talk about cloud, now, obviously, a lot of people get scared. Oh my God, you're not talking about cloud. It was all about ML. So these are obviously, I think this is something which we cannot obviously cover here. But my question is basically, when we talk about machine learning, I'll go to internet and I'll research about it, and they will say, okay, you need this kind of a GPU, you need this kind of a CPU, you need this kind of a RAM. Now, this is a common problem where I've seen a lot of students are struggling. Like, let's say maybe you don't have a proper infrastructure right now. So as a student, do I have some resources at least so that I can actually polish my skill set and I can show it to the people as a student, so that I don't have to spend any more money? Because obviously my parents are worried, like, we are paying so much for the education now. This is what is machine learning, why you want to teach machine, what something is happening. So are there any resources available, probably free of cost, or if they are available at the lower cost, so that I can actually learn something without overspending on these resources?
For students, I would say it's so funny. I'm not a student anymore, so I cannot get all those resources. But if you're a student, just go and type AWS for students, right? So
Okay.
I think they used to have. I'm not sure if they have it anymore, but there's a free trial that they have for students, and similarly for Azure. So Azure for students is also the same. You just have to give your student ID and all those things to prove that you're a student. And once you do
Okay.
that, you get some credits, and on the cloud. Then you can spin up your own hardware, as you said, and work on them. So definitely, if you look at Tableau for students, there's Power BI for students, and
Okay.
yeah, and then there is uh, even if you're not a student, okay, like if you go to AWS, there is a free, like, I think you just have to give your
There is a free tier with a credit card for 12 months.
credit card, yes, but they would give you some minimal amount of resources, right, for one full year, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that, and if I mean, I would definitely look up more on such resources if they're especially like free for students, and I'll let you know. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So basically, like, currently you have mentioned like AWS and Microsoft Azure. If you guys have not heard about these terms, these are cloud. Okay. So obviously they are not very complex, but yes, it can be managed. And what I would recommend is, obviously, instead of spinning up your hardware, it is better that you utilize the power of cloud, because obviously you can actually control things in a manner which is quite not possible. Now my next question is, like, obviously when we talk about learning, okay, so machine learning is there, cloud computing is there. So like when we talk about cloud is something which can actually scale up my resources. I can host my, like, I can start my startup and I can traditionally host anything. When I talk about machine learning, I like, students are usually confused, like, what are the applications of machine learning? When they say credit card fraud detection, it is confusing, like how you're doing credit card fraud detection with machine learning. Or when I talk about facial recognition, so how that is happening with machine learning. So first question is, obviously, what is machine learning? Can you explain in a simpler term so that we can understand? Secondly, I don't know why this is happening, but the industry is confused around it: artificial intelligence and machine learning. So people have a thinking like, okay, machine learning and artificial intelligence are basically two words for similar thing, which I contradict. I don't agree to that. And I, of course, understand the difference, but can you explain in a way so that students can understand?
Okay. So machine learning is is a statistical approach uh, to learn from the data and to create so So in the most simple terms, let's say you have 10 features, okay, in your data set, and what machine learning does is through those 10 features, it recognizes what are the most, which feature contributes to the most to my prediction, and it figures out the coefficients of those features, and then it tries to create a function. Now this function is reusable, okay, and machine learning gives you the freedom to go deep dive into which feature actually had. There's a lot of transparency in the way it works, right? You can literally, like, if you open a decision tree, you can see, okay, these features are the top ranked ones, and then you have all these features below it. And so machine learning is all about two terms, right? How do you make your machine learn about a particular data set? Okay.
Okay.
So it's all about, like, let's say you have a 5-year-old kid and you want to teach it how to, classify something,
Okay.
right? Good or bad, yes or no. And how would you teach it? You would teach it by giving it lot of use cases. You would give it, a lot of data points. And the moment it reaches, like, okay, after looking at 100 different objects, is able, then it would be very confident in its yes or no classification. Similar,
Okay.
you do the same thing with machines. Okay, you give it lots of data to learn from, and then the machine, all by itself, using some kind of algorithm that you tell it to use, it could either classify, or it could figure out a particular. In case of regressions, it tries to predict a number, right? So that is machine learning. When it comes to artificial intelligence, that is basically, in the most simple terms, it's how do you make a machine mimic a human being.
Okay.
Okay, so AI means creating an intelligence that is very works in a very similar way that we human beings do, right? The
Okay.
way we talk, the way we listen, the way we see, okay. And so teaching a machine all those human qualities, right? So now when it comes to speech detection, speech to
Okay.
conversion, then you have facial recognition, then and then there is image classification. All these things, we humans, it's quite simple for us. Like, if we see a dog or a cat, we can immediately identify which one is what. But for a machine to be able to do that, okay, it requires some kind of deep neural network. So when I talk about neural network, is basically the technology that helps machine to be able to come to that, to create that's kind of ability to guess what is what, right? So neural networks is this whole, like, this model which was developed many years back. In fact, 1970s and 1980s was the roots of it, but it didn't take off at that time because the computing capacity was very low.
That's not there. Yeah.
So neural networks require you to keep iterating, right? So it requires massive amount of power. And now,
Okay.
because we have supercomputers like Azure, AWS, and all these GPUs with us, we are we are at a time where we can see models, like, which can talk like us, which can comprehend like us. Like, if you look at GPT-3 model, which is
Yeah.
yeah,
OpenAI.
OpenAI. So the moment you ask it a question, it can answer it for you. It can
Okay.
write poetry for you. It can write a tweet for you. Okay, so these are, so traditionally we all used to think that common sense is something which only humans have. But now that's not the case. With artificial intelligence, a machine can also have common sense, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Quite
that
interesting.
is the difference between machine learning and AI, right?
Yeah, so like I understood the point. So like basically machine learning is you're training the particular person, if I may, and artificial intelligence is basically asking the person, like the result oriented towards that. Okay. Now I want to understand one thing is, like, obviously we discussed about the artificial intelligence, we have discussed about the machine learning. Now my question is, uh, industry is evolving a lot. When I go to Microsoft Azure, when I go to AWS, they have already built so many things. When I talk about OpenAI, they have already built so many things. So don't you think that my job, if I'm making a career there, don't you think that this is going to actually make my life more unstable? Because obviously a lot of people are doing that. So should I actually go and make my career here? Because obviously a lot of companies are already building, like if I talk about image classification, Microsoft Azure and AWS probably have one of the best image classification available in the industry. So why should I learn now? Because obviously they are doing that.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Actually, you obviously feel obsolete, right? Because they are making state of the class models, and all you have to just do is call the API, and
Yeah.
yeah, it works wonderfully on your model. Okay, so now the point is, you as a machine learning professional, when you go and step into a company, what they would expect you to do is, um, understand the problem statement very clearly, because that is going to be unique for every company, right? So I
Yes.
work in a healthcare company, so the kind of use cases we have and all those things, it's not just plug and play that I can just go to AWS and immediately use the model. There has to be some kind of effort
Customization.
from my side to understand the data, the
Okay.
complexities of the data. Okay,
Okay.
so that's the biggest, I would say, the region where I can value add the most. So there is raw data available from lots of sources. How do I combine it into the data which my machine learning model would train the best on? So
Okay.
your models are only as good as the data you provide it, right?
Yeah.
If your training data is good, your predictions are going to be good. Um, so, from the healthcare perspective, we have data scattered all across. We have to bring it to a format, okay, and just to get it all into a single format, cleaned and perfectly ready for the model, it takes about 70% or 80% of the time.
Okay.
Okay, and once you get that data, now it's all about plugging the model, plugging different models and seeing which one performs the best. Okay,
Okay.
so any company would not encourage or would not say that, oh, let's just go with this model blindly, right?
Okay.
As a professional, I have to show you why this model is the best out of 10 models that I've tried, right? So I have to sit and make some kind of a tracker, like an experiment tracker. I would experiment the same data on multiple models and algorithms and say that, see, this is where it performs the best, and this is where I think the predictions and the features that the model has used makes the most sense. Okay, so once I've done all those experiments, now the time is, how can I make it a product? Company is mostly interested in how do you bring value out of all the experiments that you've done. Okay, it works on your machine well and good, but what's the value to us if you
Yeah.
cannot make it an API and if you cannot use it, right? So that's the biggest skill that you need to develop. Once you have the model ready, how do you publish it? Right? How do you make it open to the world to see, to use it? How do you make it into an application? And even that is really simple with the cloud services. It's just about spinning up a container, right? Making the model work, right? All these terms I'm using it, but guys, it's as simple as, okay, if you have a model in your machine, how do you package it into something which can be replicated on any machine? So
Yeah.
that packaging, okay, that's called putting it into a box or a container. That is called containerization, and that is something that the skill I picked up just 6 7 months ago, and it has really changed the way I contribute to the company. Right, so machine
Okay.
learning is now become a very very small part of your everyday life. Okay,
Okay.
it's all about data understanding and how do you make it useful.
Okay. I want to add few points. Like if you guys are aware, like you're confused about this term of what is container, we have a video on our channel. You can obviously go there. Secondly, she did mention one point, like obviously you can build such a big house, but obviously if no one is going to see, it's going to be worthless. I'll give an example, like correct me if I'm wrong. Government of Tamil Nadu implemented a artificial intelligence enabled application which could actually find if a person has a cataract or not. Now, why I'm using this example is, okay, finding cataract is okay, but the problem is I am the person who is like suffering from cataract is living in tier 3 city or maybe even further than that. So using the power of a smartphone, which is technically available for everyone, they made something. Again, I have not used this application. I did read the news, so I cannot say everything about it. But what I was able to understand is like they use the thing which is available on the hand right now, which is a smartphone, and that can actually transform you, and you can actually go to a person, and you can find out, like there is a good possibility that you can find out if this person has a cataract or not. So obviously a lot of innovation is happening there. Cloud providers are working rigorously, but your problem is going to make it unique. Your problem statement, as you have mentioned, the complexity of the data, obviously like data is not available. Like this is something which I've learned in my career, is that data is scattered in so many ways that as a data scientist it is very hard, or I should say data analyst, it is very hard to actually make it in a way so that you can actually work on it. Now, Sonia, obviously we have learned a lot of things. But my question is now, after I've implemented all this thing, I've learned something. Now I have made a channel, or I should say, I have started sharing with the community. Now I'm seriously looking for some hands-on experience, because if I'm building something for myself, that is fine, but I'm not able to find those unique problem statements. So what is the approach? How should I actually look for opportunities, especially if I'm a student right now, I'm looking for internships. So what are the possible ways I can actually find those internships, so I can actually get the hands-on experience, which is going to give my learning 10x growth compared to learning through YouTube or through a paid program?
Right. Yes. Okay. So, from my personal experience, getting internships is not easy, right? So, when I was in Singapore, I had a very difficult time to just like make my resume good looking and all these things. I used to focus a lot on that, but then
Okay.
it ultimately came to a point where it was not working. The resume was not just clicking, right? I was not getting the opportunities that I really wanted. So, so first of all, if you look at my own career path, right, I had three internships. First one
Yeah.
was channel sales, then
Yeah.
I did product management, and then I slowly traversed towards the technical part, data analyst, and then I became a machine learning engineer. So what I would say is you are not going to get from the first, the internship that bang on, you're going to get what you always wanted, right? So there are possibilities that your resume would not fit the job description very well to start off with. So it's okay, it's fine. Take up anything that's coming in your way. Okay.
Okay.
So first, for me, how did I find the first internship, right? Bagging the first internship was the most difficult one. It was all, I think the one skill that you guys have to learn is cold emailing. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure a lot of people have heard about it. And it's just that figuring out who the right person is to reach to in an organization. So that it requires some LinkedIn skills and search skills. And once you know that, you just go and figure out the website or the email of the person, and then you just keep spamming them with a lot of emails and telling them why you need this. Your resume is not going to matter a lot here, and all it's going to matter is the story that you tell them, that why this is so important to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So people really tell that your resume has to stand out and all these things, but coming from it's very fresh in my mind that 1-2 years of college experience didn't really give me so many opportunities or hands-on things that I could add in my resume, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so then it comes to a point where you just have to tell them why you need this and what value are you going to provide by just being there, right? And yeah, I think internships, the biggest part is networking and getting to know people around you. So that's why I'm focusing a lot on social media platforms and
Okay.
right. And what you're doing, Avinash, it's really great. And I mean, I hope if I mean I would really like to expand this into something where we could also figure out how to include people who could hire, right?
Okay.
Yeah, how we could introduce your audience to those people, so that we could have some kind of a interview or a test built in, so that we could find the talent from your platform, and then yeah, we could use
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. We'll discuss this now. Like I want to understand one thing. Like obviously, I found the internship. I've learned so many things. Now, one last question I have for you is, obviously in last 2.5 years, you must have realized something, that you must have made one mistake which actually sort of slowed your pace of learning, or I should say slowed your pace of growing. It could be anything. So what is that one mistake as a student I should avoid today, so that the mistakes so that my pace cannot actually, it should actually go in a regular pace, it should not slow down? Because what I'm trying to understand is, like, obviously we when we are as a human being, we always make mistakes. So what is one mistake you would say to the student that they should avoid early in their career, so that they can actually grow their career in a normal pace, or I should say good pace, rather than slowing it down?
Okay. Um, I think the I would not call it a mistake. Probably the term called exploring a lot of options, right? So when I joined the BBA course, I kind of I didn't know where to begin with. And it's really fine for anyone to start from a point where they don't have any plans. So um, okay, just to correct what I just said before, sorry about that. I was very sure that I wanted to start my own business, and that's why I stepped into BBA, right? So I was like, I would become an entrepreneur after the 3 years of studying, and it doesn't happen like that. So you come up with false expectations, and then you figure out that okay, whatever syllabus that you're learning right now, okay, how um, uh, the thing that the mistake that I made was how I didn't question myself enough. Like before starting, I didn't talk to a lot of people before taking a decision that why BBA, right?
Okay.
Why is this the right course for me? I just felt I had this gut instinct that if I want to become an entrepreneur, these management skills would only help me get there. But what about the ground reality? What are the things that you would have to do to become an entrepreneur, right? Because management comes at later stages of your career.
Yeah.
First, you need to start with the technical skills. So there was no one to really guide me. So I think that was the biggest mistake. I never found a mentor. All
Okay.
throughout my journey, it was self-taught. I had to
Okay.
figure out everything by myself, and
Okay.
that's why I didn't choose science in the first place. I didn't get into computer science. I didn't find the right courses or lecturers. I had a lot of going back and forth, and then it's just the main reason is I didn't have the proper guidance. So
Okay.
right early in your career, find someone you could talk to, you can get correct mentorship from, and that would make your career journey really quick and smooth.
And do you think this will apply to a machine learning career as well? Like, obviously we understand, like, your college, you could not find a proper mentor for the college, but when we talk about learning machine learning, so do you think that this can be a very fruitful thing if I'm applying in my career?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When you're in a
Okay.
professional career journey, don't restrict yourself to just, your team members or your boss. There are a lot of other people around you who are working in different domains, different departments. Find mentors in all those areas and regions, and they would give you a very big perspective on how things are happening in your own company. And in machine learning itself, there are so many things in the pipeline, right? You could be anywhere. You could be someone who handles the data, or you could be someone doing the training. You could be someone doing the productionizing of the models. You could be anywhere in the pipeline. So you need to find the right mentor who can give you a bit of everything, so that you can explore it yourself and find the right take the right call. So
Okay.
right. So you need to find someone who can give you all those opportunities to see the end-to-end pipeline of machine learning. Yeah.
Okay, so basically you're trying to say is that instead of doing all the trial and error, which is one of the mistake of my career as well, like, obviously I did find some mentors, but obviously I made a mistake of it. So it is better that we actually structurize our learning and find a mentor, probably the person who is already working in the industry. And I feel today finding a mentor is not very difficult. The only thing is you have to show yourself that you have that kind of a skill set, so they can spend their time, because obviously this is something they are not going to get. So it was great talking to you, Sonia. I hope this session was fruitful. And obviously, if anyone has any other questions, these are the questions which I had in my mind. If you have some question, obviously put them in the comment. And I'll hope that someone who is watching this video, probably you build an application which I'll use in my life, probably you will use in your life, and that will change the world. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.